Well, here we are. It's not where we want it to be, but nonetheless, here it is. I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I especially thanks to our donors and our sponsors who've made this event possible. And a special thanks to Tom and Karen Quiner, who helped put this production together. The opening song you heard, The Royal Child, as well as another song you'll hear later this evening called A Christmas Lullaby, have been written by Mr. Quiner himself. He is a fantastic talent, and we are so blessed to have him as part of our team here at IFL. You know, I know we are all anxiously awaiting a time when we can have mask-free visits. I am ready to give people some hugs. I mean, I'm going to be giving strangers hugs when all this is said and done. But I know that during this challenging time, we need to come together. And as I was thinking about what to say to you tonight, one of the things that came to mind was the word fear. And we know as Christians, we cannot live in fear. And Scripture tells us this very clearly in Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my stronghold of my life. Of whom should I be afraid? When evildoers assail me and devour my flesh, my adversaries and foes, they stumble and fall. Though an army encamp around me, my heart shall not fear. Though war rise against me, even then do I trust. We simply cannot live in fear. And as I was thinking about that, a prayer came to me as well. It's a prayer I sort of have a love-hate relationship with. And in fact, I have it hanging on my office wall as a constant reminder to pray it. It's the Litany of Humility. In part, we ask Jesus to deliver us from our fears of being humiliated, despised, rebuked, forgotten, ridiculed, wronged, or suspected. We desperately need Jesus to deliver us from these fears and to walk in the path of his will. I encourage you to pray this prayer during this time of unrest and to pray it often. And in walking in his path, I am privileged to share with you all of the great work that Iowans for Life has done this last year. I'll start with the 2020 legislative session. We started very good here in the pro-life movement. We had garnered support for the Protect Life Amendment, which was the best and surest path to undo the judicial overreach of 2018. For those of you not quite up to speed, I'll give you a little background to understand why we're at the point that we're at. 2 years ago, we saw some major successes in the pro-life movement in terms of legislation. We were able to pass a 20-week abortion ban, and with that, a 72-hour waiting period before obtaining an abortion. While the 20-week ban went into law, Planned Parenthood and ACLU filed lawsuit against the 72-hour ruling. So that part never went into law. While that was being litigated in the Iowa courts, the next session, we were able to pass the first in the nation heartbeat bill. We were ecstatic at that success. Shortly, though, after Governor Reynolds signed the heartbeat law into law here in Iowa, the ruling came back on the 72 hours. What happened was the Iowa Supreme Court ruled not only was a 72-hour waiting period unconstitutional and an undue burden for women, they took it a step further, and they actually created law. They determined that there was a fundamental right to abortion in our Iowa Constitution. Fundamental right, you say? Yes, and I have the proof of it right here. Yes, I did steal that from my new BFF, Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She doesn't know we're BFFs, but that's okay. And let me say, her confirmation hearing was a bright light in a seemingly dark tunnel of 2020. May the dogma live loudly within you, my new favorite phrase. But getting back to this ruling, what happened with these judges is they took the role of creating law out of our duly elected legislators and took it upon themselves to create law. And so we knew this was something that we had to take care of. Because as we know, when Roe versus Wade is overturned, abortion law will go back to the Iowa courts and all of the states. And so if we're not able to get this changed, Iowa had the potential of becoming the abortion mecca of the country. So that gets you up to speed to where we are in 2020. We passed it in the Senate here in the 2020 legislative session, but it stalled in the House. And then, of course, COVID came into play, and the legislative session was suspended. When we returned, unfortunately, we found out that the Protect Life Amendment would not pass. Instead, the House had drafted a new bill, a 24-hour waiting period before obtaining an abortion. Right on cue, Planned Parenthood and the ACLU filed lawsuit against that bill, so it never went into law. As we look forward to the 2021 session, you can be sure that Iowans for Life and our friends in the coalition of pro-life leaders will be working very, very hard to garner support again for the Protect Life Amendment. We know it needs to be done, and we're going to be working hard to try and get that accomplished. The other thing we'll be doing is we'll be educating on all of the life issues, as we have done in the state of Iowa for over 48 years. In fact, one of the new things that's happening in our state is this summer we learned of a pilot program here in Iowa, and now the dangerous RU-486 abortion pill will now be mailed in the U.S. postal system, mailed to our girls and women here in Iowa. It's issues like this that Iowans for Life will be working hard to address. As many of you know, Iowans for Life is the leader in taking Iowans to the March for Life every year in Washington, D.C. for the March for Life, the largest march in our country. This last year was very historic in that for the first time, we had a sitting U.S. president address the March for Life crowd. I was very proud that we had many Iowans there, particularly young people, to witness this historic event. When COVID entered our world, I had a heavy heart thinking we would not be able to offer this trip as we've done for over 30 years. And with regret, we decided because of safety issues, we were not able to provide this historic and monumental pilgrimage that we do every year. But true to how IFL has operated for years and years, we adapted to the situation. And I'm proud to announce that we will be offering a local march here in Des Moines. The Iowans for Life March for Life will occur here in Des Moines on January 9th at 10 a.m. at the state capitol. We really encourage you to attend. We'll have more information about this march in the coming weeks, but it's so important that you be there, even in the cold and even in the snow, because your presence is needed. And you need to bear witness and be a voice for the thousands of Iowa boys and girls who have been snuffed out of their mother's womb. I hope you will join us when we have that march in January. Iowans for Life has been the leader in education for the last almost 50 years. We are constantly looking for new and innovative ways to combat the culture of death. Last year, we introduced you to our pro-life apologetics toolkit. We put together the 20 most common arguments on abortion and concise answers to those arguments. It was so successful and well received that we decided to add to it. So this year, we will be introducing you to a series of videos. We have put these common arguments together on video format, and we have one here now that I'd like to show you.
Hey, Mom, can I ask you about something?
Yeah, sure.
I had a conversation turn into a discussion about abortion, and I really didn't have a good answer for why a man can't tell a woman what to do with her body. What would you say?
Well, we tell people they can't smoke in public places because smoking hurts other people. The life that is created at conception is a separate human being with its own unique DNA. I guess that's the whole point. We're talking about two bodies, not one. Just as smoking can hurt another person, abortion hurts another person.
That's very true. Abortion does come with dangers many don't know. Thanks for helping me think through all those. It's hard to think about all those situations.
Anytime. Those are tough conversations to have, but I'm glad you're having them. Ready to go?
Sure.
Let's go.
You'll be seeing more of these videos in the months to come, so we encourage you to follow us on social media if you're not doing so now. We really want to equip you with the tools necessary to have these conversations, because it does take all of us having these conversations to make a difference in the life issues. Although we were not able to attend the Iowa State Fair this year, rest assured, during that time, we were thinking of bigger and better ways to effectively talk about the life issues, and we'll be ready next year for the next Iowa State Fair. And please also don't forget, one of our bigger outreaches that we also have is our Respect Life curriculum. I'll be out talking about that curriculum to churches and schools throughout the state of Iowa. It's a very important step in helping get our young people the information they need. It is discouraging right now because of the never-ending hits that 2020 seemed to keep giving us. But please don't be discouraged. There is hope. And I'd love you to follow the words of my favorite saint, Saint Padre Pio, to pray, hope, and don't worry. We know that the battle is not won, though, in elections or legislation or law. It's won in changing the hearts and minds of every human being we encounter. Every single one. For those who have attended banquets of ours in the past, you know I like to leave you with something to think about. And it's usually from someone that is much smarter than I and much more well-spoken. Tonight, it's St. John Henry Newman. Please consider these words for yourself as I read them. God has created me to do him some definite service. He has committed some work to me, which he has not committed to another. I have my mission. I may never know it in this life, but I shall be told it in the next. I am a link in a chain, a bond of connection between persons. He has not created me for naught. I shall do good. I shall do his work. I shall be an angel of peace, a preacher of truth in my own place. Therefore, I will trust him. Whatever I am, I could never be thrown away. If I am in sickness, my sickness may serve him. In perplexity, my perplexity may serve him. If I am in sorrow, my sorrow may serve him. He does nothing in vain. He knows what he is about. Be a link in our pro-life chain. Preach the truth of life even when it's difficult. You have a mission, friends. And rest assured, as you do your work, Iowans for Life will be right with you every single step of the way.